weekend as we roll into September and marching towards the end of the third quarter of 2020, which is pretty unbelievable to me. And hoping, we haven't checked in this a while, hoping that you're, there's lots of dynamics going on in the country, which we talk about often. I'm not present to them. A big part of our focus here at Unblinded is to influence and impact and control the things that we can. And that starts with us, but not being without empathy for the reality that for a lot of people, there's a lot of super complicated emotions and things that are occurring. So our hearts are present for that. We're also present to September 11th on Friday. And it's like, let's rock and roll on Ecosystem Merger and Mastery Monday. So this week is a huge week. I'm so appreciative for the data and feedback that we're getting through the group trainings, the one-on-one trainings and coaching. And so patterns emerge. Patterns are emerging in huge ways. And those patterns are influencing what we're doing to the world at large and to folks inside of the programs to focus on. We have, for folks in our elite programs, we have Long Beach Island weekend this weekend. For folks that are in group training, coaching, and one-on-one coaching and training. Incredibly excited about that. So if you want more information, please, reach out and talk to us. It's going to be unreal this weekend. And this weekend will be substantially about, and this entire week on the huddles will be substantially about the number one challenge that I am currently perceiving that is holding people back in their money, time, and magic. And they're pulling the 7 levers of marketing and sales process mastery, which are ecosystem merging, speaking engagements, sales meetings, sales, increasing disposable income, increasing contribution, and increasing our fun and magic. So as we think about all those, the number one thing is our fear. And it's our fear of rejection, which is impacting massively our ability to get to yes with integrity. Like the ability to get to yes, because nothing starts before we get to yes. Nothing. There's no ecosystem mergers. There's no speaking engagements. There's no sales meetings. There's no sales. There's no rise in disposable income. You cannot increase your disposable income without yes. Can't happen. You can't scale and lead without yes. Just doesn't happen. Fun and magic don't happen without yes. You have to get yourself to say yes and other people to say yes, to go hang out with you, to do something fun, to show up at your party, to agree to go on a date, to agree to have a wildly healthy and unbelievable relationship. All of those things matter at an extraordinary and unbelievable level, getting to that yes integrously. Win-win, not take, not for you, not closing them, not poking them, not pitching them, right? No, value exchanged, integrous, heart-centered yes. So this week is going to be consistently on the huddles, in the groups, in the one-on-ones, focused on where you are in your step 4 of agreement formation, right? In the whole 4-step HelloDS process, integrity-based human influence, as well specifically as where you are in step 4 of that, and step 4 being impacted by your fear of rejection, how you approach rejection. And, if you're like, no, I'm like great with that. Remember, it's not yes or no. It's like where you're on the scale of mastery, and that our scale of mastery unlocks unbelievably different components of our acceleration. Remembering that the 90th percentile in income is about 100 grand in the US, the 95th about 150, the 99.99, 7.8 million, 99, 400,000 point exponential differential acceleration occurs at the top of the scale. So if you're a 90 in your ability, you're a 9 in your ability to emotionally cope with rejection, get to yes, integrously at agreement formation, well, that's about $100,000 skill set that you have. If you're 99, right, in the 99th percentile, or 9.9, you are a $400,000 income level of agreement formation. Yes, 99.9, 1.7 million, et cetera. Our goal with everything we're doing here at Blinded is to get you into the 99 plus category. That's the outcome. To be a sub 1%er, right? Which is not that complicated and hard to do, because if you're on the real raws, and that's like a beautiful R&D laboratory, you can see that to be more skillful than 99% of the participants is not that difficult to achieve. And these are people that are successful already. And many of them are in the top 1% of income already. And so you can see that the ability to do what we're talking about, it's like, oh, I got to get in the top 1%. I got to be a 9.9. That's hard. It's really not that hard. It's achievable for virtually everybody in a relatively short period of time, 3 months, 4 months, right? Less, with the appropriate degree of focus, right? Now, it's like 3 or 4 months of my life, okay, is like your entire future worth it? Your ability to achieve a high level of mastery in your influence, is it worth it? Of course it is, because it impacts your money, time, and magic. Because again, nothing happens without yes. So fear of rejection and agreement formation, that's what this week is about. And let's see that. So what do you do? What do you do when you begin to feel like somebody is not listening? Like you've had a beautiful conversation, you create a rapport, you feel them backing up, and you're talking more and they're backing up more. You're talking more and they're backing up more. You're talking more and they're not physically backing up, but they're emotionally, energetically backing up. You could feel they're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable. What do you do? That's what step 4 is all about. How do you transition from rapport, something being at stake, pain, having your beautiful like identity received, but maybe it wasn't received. And now you're like, so yeah, well, what I was thinking was maybe you could come into like my program and maybe you could become a client. Maybe you should do this. Maybe we could be ecosystem partners. We should collaborate. What is it we're saying? An agreement formation to get to the yes, and dealing with all of the emotions that brings up for each and every one of us about our rejection, our discomfort, our concern, all of those things. So that's what this week is going to be about. And it's one of the core foundational dynamics of your money, time, and magic. So that said, Fernando, can I chat with you and everybody about something that happened this weekend? Because fear was very much in play. And I can promise you this, in the Long Beach Island weekend, fear will be at play as well. And we'll be dealing with it. But I was dealing with fear. So Fernando, you know what I was doing this past weekend? Like I was heading out to Arizona for what in your mind?
You were heading out to Arizona for a Lions trip with the Tony Robbins ecosystem.
Correct. And so that, for those that don't know, there's a platinum partnership in Tony Robbins. There's an invited subcomponent in platinum partnership called Lions. I have the unique honor and privilege of being part of that group. And so in the middle of building everything we're building here at Unblinded and serving, and loving and all those things, like there's a Lions weekend. And I have responsibilities and privilege and honor to be part of it, to be that like part of that group and going. So it was not perfectly timed at all, right? But life isn't, in light of all the things coming up, including everything we do here on a daily basis, our acceleration, the explosion of Real Raws and Real Raw Opens, et cetera. So then we get out there and I'm heading up to Sedona, which is where it's going to be located. And from Phoenix, a 2-hour ride, and there's like all kinds of cell phone problems and gaps in coverage. So the stress level that's creating was like extraordinary. So thank you for everybody that endured with any of those dynamics. I can't thank you enough, and really appreciate your patience and understanding with that. So get up there, and for me, I have led what by most accounts and most people that know me would be. Well, I'll ask you, Fernando. How do you perceive me as far as where adventure fits into my life? Like as you perceive it, like very, like candidly, I'm not looking for hype at all. I'm not looking for understatement, but like where do you perceive that adventure fits into my life?
Where adventure fits into your life. So the direct answer would be, top 3 most important things. And I would say a simple little story. We are driving in a pickup truck, a rental in Utah. And we are there with Janelle and her son. And we're like driving through the mountains, and we're like going to these ski lodge and seeing all these beautiful things. And in like a left turn, there's like a small patch of ice and snow. And like in my head, I was like, great, snow. And Sean was like, wait, stop. first, like, that's hilarious. He gets out of the car to like play with the snow, Sean Callaghan, and then invites Chanel's son to come out and play with the snow. But it gets even better because he's like, you know what would be fun? If you grab the ice and throw it at the car so it makes a noise. So that is like where adventure is for you, Sean.
Yes. So yes, adventure, fun. Yeah, for sure. So when we have an adventure trip in the space of the Tony Robbins world, again, candidly, not much of it feels, it's a beautiful experience. It's wonderful, incredible. But, and by the way, there are people there that are making me look not adventurous. Like one of my, fine folks in Lions, dear friend of mine, was bitten by a rattlesnake and like climbs mountains and like without equipment, like crazy stuff that people do. So not much that I'm uncomfortable with, afraid of. And so when I hear adventure trip, I think more of bonding. I think more of the relationships and massive gratitude for all the amazing, we're staying at a beautiful resort, all these incredible things, right? So Friday, I don't participate in anything because I am here serving my duties at Unblinded. We have real raws, real raw opens, we have group and individualized sessions, the huddle, etc. So I literally don't participate in any way. So come Saturday, we are going off on like the day of adventure, right? And the day I missed on Friday was kayaking in the Verde River, beautiful hiking, adventurous stuff, but things that I have done a lot of and wouldn't consider uniquely adventurous, but I would consider beautiful and bonding and wonderful and incredible for sure. So Saturday morning comes around and it's like, hush, hush, everything's going to be a surprise. There's no itinerary laid out. Okay, so fun. So we go to an airport and we're like, all right, we're going to go fly to the Grand Canyon. Like we don't get told that, but that's the perception. Because I know Sedona, Grand Canyon not far away. So pretty awesome and totally amazing. And I've actually done that before, like flown a plane over, not personally flown it, but had a small private situation, flying it over the Grand Canyon and coming back. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna probably fly over the Grand Canyon, experience that. It's a beautiful, fun thing. Wow, like amazing surprise. What a gift, beautiful, right? So, but we don't fly over the Grand Canyon. We land at Grand Canyon Airport. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I guess we're gonna go maybe on like Jeeps or something to the Grand Canyon, or Hummers or something. And I'm sure Tony has something incredible planned and his wonderful team, Ashley, Joanne, amazing Tad, right? And so we start going or getting out, and then all of a sudden we're walking inside the airport building, Fernando, and everybody. And so we walk inside and it's a skydiving like business. And I've never gone skydiving. And I don't fear many things, but like I don't love heights. And I had pretty much decided that I would never skydive. Like not that like I absolutely unequivocally wouldn't. And by the way, as I'm telling this story, I'm feeling nauseous slightly. That is a true statement. I'm literally right now beginning to feel slightly nauseous. Okay. As I'm like re-experiencing some things. So yeah, we're going skydiving. And that's the surprise. So once again, Tony Robbins has outdid himself. And every time you think that there can't be something more, there is. And I would say for all of us that every time we think that we've overcome our fear, like it's present. Like think not, okay, pick up a phone right now and call 10 people you don't know and ask them to buy your services on the phone call. And if you're ready to do it right now, amazing. And you are truly empowered at a 9.9 plus level in your fear of rejection, congratulations. And if there's any degree of fear, nothing wrong with you. Everybody is, 99% of people would be afraid, but now we got to like deal with it. Because on the other side, and this is not about cold calling, it's about our fear of rejection and fear overall. And I knew this week was going to be about this. And I was like sitting there like, I can't believe the gift that this is, because I'm going to be talking to people about fear for the next week. And I'm literally sitting in the middle of my own fear. And truly, I'm thinking like my mind starts racing. Our minds race. Our minds make up stories. And I'm going to like dig into and answer for any question you have, or throw questions in the chat if you want, like uncomfortably and totally congruently. So I start to think, might I have a heart attack? I haven't had, anything checked in the last 2 years. Like, what if there's something and the adrenaline is like crazy? Like, what if I have a heart attack and die? Like, that was my first thought. Like, what if I go up and have a heart attack and die? Right? Like, I run, I exercise, all those things, but I'm not scared typically. So what if that does something to me? So now my mind is racing. Like, then they start showing the videos and they start talking about all the inherent horrific risks in like skydiving, and they have to be transparent. And then we find out that somebody there at this very facility died the year before. Died. Like, open chute too late, died upon landing and crashing on the ground. Like, a person doing this very same thing at this very same place 1 year ago died. Like, and that starts to like ripple through everybody, right? And it's super safe place, incredibly safe place, but skydiving is inherently dangerous and people do die. So it wasn't like this is a great place. It was unbelievable. It's wonderful. But like, that happens. So it's like, well, I'd love to be able to like back out of this, but I don't feel like I can, because my identity is such that I'm adventurous. This is my identity in the world. I do fun, crazy things. That's how these people see me. I'm going to be on the huddle on Monday, and I can't not go. So let's go with point and lesson number 1 for this week, is that when you create proximity for yourself around people who are like-minded, like the folks in Unblinded, like the folks in Platinum Partnership, the Lions, and you in Unblinded are committed to a course, a process, a journey, an outcome. And now we're talking fear of rejection. We're talking measuring, ecosystem merging, speaking engagements, your sales meetings, your sales, and what it takes. It's a very different dynamic because you're in it, and you're going to behave consistently with what the people are going to do, or at least it's going to create a massive amount more leverage as you create your identity here at Unblinded, who you are, what you're committed to, what your dreams are, and you're publicly out there. So I was publicly out there and committed as a leader there, as a person of adventure there. Like, what am I going to do? Not go skydiving? Right? Now, it's different than saying if it was going to be an integrity breach. That's a different story. But this wasn't an integrity breach. This was just me and my fear. Because all kinds of people go skydiving all the time and nothing bad happens. You probably have a bigger risk of being harmed driving your car than you do skydiving. I don't know if that's accurate, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Okay. So now we're up in the airplane, and it's only 4 of us on the plane, the pilot and 4 of us. It's me and my dear lion friend, Abraham, and each of us with our instructor. And Fernando, the door is open. So Fernando, have you gone skydiving?
I have not gone skydiving.
There's no door on our plane. I don't know if there's a door, but it's not closed and it's not small. So the door was probably, and tomorrow we're going to put the video up and we'll talk about in the huddle and go through it a little bit. The door is like 6 feet across, I would say. And I'm sitting a foot from it. So I'm sitting here going, we're at 13,000 feet, 14,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 16,000 feet. And the door is open and the flight's like bumpy. I'm like, I could easily just bump out the door. Like there, and a lot of the folks in the Lions were discussing it. Like, it's so counterintuitive, and our emotions, our fear, our stories, our nervous system just becomes crazed with things like making a cold call, which is not a whole lot different than sitting in an airplane in terms of the fear it creates. And then I talked to my guide, whose name was Randy, and we're going to post a video in a day or so with Randy. And that very day, Randy was going to jump 15 times. Like, he was going to jump with me. He had jumped already, and he was going to jump like 10 more times that day. And for Randy, the fear of jumping out of the airplane, I mean, it was like, I think people are more afraid of tying their shoes than Randy is of jumping out of an airplane. And so the behavior is like totally normalized, just like what is. And your agreement formation dynamics, your fear of rejection can be totally normalized the same way. We can literally normalize any behavior that serves us. How we reframe it, the story that we tell, the condition that we're in. any of it. And all of you have done that already. Because when you first rode a bicycle, when you first went swimming, when you're first learning to read, when you first were learning a sport or a skill or to sing or to publicly speak or anything, you faced fear, real fear in those moments. And often it was your fear of rejection, what people would think of you, what they would say about you. And so for so many of you, you've already come to the other side of so much of this fear. And for all of us, though, there's more pockets of its unlocking. For some, a lot, for some, a little. But for those that are little, you're closest to your exponential explosion. For those, a lot, it's necessary for you to really see the beginnings of very tangible acceleration. So back to the airplane. It's like all the noise is going. And I am using every tool of self-mastery that we're going to talk about this week, every tool of self-mastery. And I'm saying to myself, when you're super scared, and I was super scared, I was as afraid as I can remember being in my life. Okay. And I was sitting there going so just tool number one is I was in state, and I'm not going to say the curse word, but I was like, let's effing go. Let's effing go. Let's effing. And I kept like, every time I felt getting into my head and I felt the fear rising, and out of my peripheral, I would see like this speck that looked like the ground out of the plane. And it would begin, let's have it go. And I told Randy, I'm like, dude, I'm going to do a whole bunch of crazy stuff that seems crazy to you to keep myself going. And I was doing it. And you know what, Fernando? You know what, everybody? Adam? It was working. Because you can't be engaged in your body and screaming, yelling, and feeling fear at the same time. Right? And this was massive, life and death, highest level fear that I could think of experiencing, maybe other than somebody pointing a gun at me or somebody that I love, right? Like or let's say being in the water with a great white shark coming at you. Like, there's few things that for me would compare to this. Okay. And boom, and boom, and boom, right? So it works. I can tell you it works because I was in abject fear on the airplane. And I was doing that. I wasn't afraid. I would stop. I'd feel okay. And then a minute later, it'd start again. And this is about a 15-minute process from takeoff to jump zone. And so boom and boom and boom, right? This is what's going on. So I offer that to you. You cannot be like engaging your body. Yes, like, let's go, right? And literally fully engaged in your voice, your physiology, all of it, and be afraid. So you want to make some calls today, your fear of rejection. The most simple principle is that. Radically shift what you're doing physically with your body, which is Tony Robbins' genius. He introduced me to this concept in words. My high school athletic coaches introduced it to me in practice. We would come out to Born to Be Wild before a wrestling match, and we'd be running around the mat, moving, yelling, screaming, jumping, football, out of the locker room, in the huddle, let's go, right? Like, so all those same dynamics is how we cope in the most urgent, emergent elements of our physiology. What we don't do is like, okay, I'm going to get like peaceful. I'm going to breathe, because the radical emotion of fear and getting ourselves to act doesn't come from a place of that peaceful, meditative dynamic. It's super important for creative thinking, for decision-making, for connection with God, higher source, power, whatever it is for you. But when you're in a moment of abject panic or fear that's stopping action, thinking your way through it, breathing your way through it slowly and calmly and resting yourself is not the most effective and immediate solution, not even close. Radical shifting in your energy is, right? So that's all going on. And the moment that when I thought fear couldn't find me at any higher level, God, with his sense of humor, right, had Abraham jump out of the plane with his instructor. And so to watch a person leave a flying plane and disappear and like drop, I mean, like, it was unbelievable to watch that happen, to experience that happen. Like, there we were in an airplane flying, then Abraham was gone, just gone, right? and to watch for like a second him disappear. It took like 1 second, gone, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And the time from him exiting, I knew was going to be less than 15 seconds until I was out the plane. So now we start moving into position, and we're going to be sitting on the edge of the plane with my feet hanging out of the airplane at 16,000 feet. Now, for those of you that have skydived, and you're like, this is like no big deal. I agree. For you, just like for many people, cold calling or warm calling or asking for an agreement is not a big deal. But for most of society, 99.9%, there's a tremendous fear of rejection that's at stake in that moment, right? So now we're moving towards the door, and I'm feeling this sense of vertigo, fear, like presence to being 16,000 feet up. And I'm like, let's go, let's effing go, let's effing go, let's effing go, let's effing go, right? It's like back inside. And so now my feet are hanging out, and I know what I'm told to do is I'm going to curl my feet under the plane, put my head up, and we're going out the door. Like that's just going to happen. And so it's like, I could feel the feeling right now. And so I'm just like, let's effing go, right? And so all of a sudden, and I feel the dizziness right now. It's unbelievable what our nervous system can do. I literally feel nauseous. I literally created the feelings of nausea inside of me. That's how real the fear was right now. And it's still present. So we start dropping. And now we are dropping from 16,000 feet to 5,000 feet. We're going to drop 11,000 feet in 40 seconds. And Fernando, could you just do me a favor? And can you count to 10? Just real quick. Like not quick, like 10 seconds.
1, 2.
Still dropping.
3, 4.
Still dropping.
5, 6.
Still dropping.
7, 8.
Still dropping.
9, 10.
Still dropping. And do that 3 more times, and we're dropping that entire time at I don't even know what speed, right? And because you don't pull the ripcord, the chute for 40 seconds. So now, what I'm saying to get like in my own mind is don't pull the effing chute. 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 Because I want to trick my mind and my nervous system instead of being hyper focused into, is the chute going to open? And please pull the chute. I'm screaming, don't pull the effing chute. Don't pull the effing chute. Don't pull the effing chute. To like lean into the fact that I wanted to tell my nervous system that I was having fun, or I wasn't having fun. I would tell my nervous system that I wasn't afraid of him pulling the chute. I wasn't desperate for him to pull the chute because we weren't going to pull the chute until 5,000 feet. During that time, that 40 seconds elapsed in what felt like 5 seconds. So in a state of heightened, abject, total, and complete fear, we are able to completely alter reality by being in a super heightened physiological place. Because the next thing I knew, the chute pulled. And I don't know how many times I said, don't pull the effing chute, but it might've been 20, and I haven't listened to the video yet. I haven't listened to it yet. So I don't even know if you can hear that. They put music over what they do. But like now I'm coming down, and probably what was the weirdest thing, and this speaks into the normalization of what you're afraid of. The normalization of what you're afraid of. As we're dropping, we're now at 5,000 feet. And I feel like I'm on the ground because I feel so much safer than I did before I jumped out of the plane and while I was free dropping 11,000 feet in 40 seconds. Does that make sense, Fernando? Like that's something that if I were to tell you, I'm going to take you on a ride and we're going to go to Six Flags Park. We're going to go to someplace in the Jersey Shore and we're going to go up 200 feet on a parachute ride that's going to free drop. You're not connected to any cables. That'd be pretty scary. But it wasn't 200 feet. It wasn't 500 or 1,000 feet. It was 5,000 feet, essentially dropping a mile attached to nothing. That now no longer feels scary, because it is so much less scary than what was just happening. And the same thing happens to you when you're on a phone call with people. It is so much less scary. Like when you're in the plane ready to jump is how you are like looking at your phone before you're going to make the call. Like, it's like, I don't want to, like, I'm afraid. What if they say no? What if my time was wasted? What if my energy was wasted? What if this is not going to work? And like hitting the send button is like jumping out of a plane. Hitting the send button is just like jumping out of a plane. And once you've done it 100 times in compressed time, and you're doing it 15, 20, 25 times a day, like these dudes jumping out of planes like Randy nonstop, you completely shift your perspective and reality around it. When Adam Gugino was managing 50 million to 100 million phone calls a year, and people were just all day long talking to human beings on the team, it became totally normalized. Fear of rejection was virtually eliminated, right? The fear of like hanging up was eliminated. The fear of no was eliminated almost completely at a 99.999% level in comparison to culture. So we come all the way to the ground or down, and Randy, and this is just a fun fact, Randy decides he wants to show me a beautiful experience and starts like crazily ripping turns and spinning us in the air as we're coming down on the parachute. And so now I'm feeling motion sick on top of everything else. I'm like, dude, love you, but can we, if we do one more turn, like it's not going to be happy for you or for me. Like what's going to happen? So we hit the ground super hard, by the way. I was told that our landing was the hardest out of everybody into these like cut up rubber tires. So hit the ground super hard. On the video, probably looks like it hurts a lot, but it actually didn't hurt at all. And then we're on the ground. And then with this incredible group of loving, kind, and caring people, we're hugging and celebrating and congratulating. And then I had the unique privilege for the next couple of hours of doing that for so many other wonderful people like Deborah and Daryl and Joan and Charlie. And it was amazing and beautiful. And the wrap up to this is that's what we're creating here. We're creating a dynamic where to face our fears collectively together, to face our fear of failure as well, our distraction, our failure, our non-time blocking, but also our fear of rejection. And as we become a group of people that step into, that lean into our fears together collectively, because we're physiologically engaged, we're changing meaning, we're doing all the things we'll talk about throughout this week in self-mastery, right? And certainly in the weekend, like crazy. And we will have experiences to face some of our fears beautifully and wonderfully. I mean, even saying that for some of you probably is evoking visions of things, stories in your head, I'm sure it is. And like, whoa, I no, wait, what, right? And I honor that, because that is sure as heck how I felt when I walked into the skydiving place of the Grand Canyon skydiving, right? So for each and every one of you, you're here to support not only yourself. I wasn't going up in that airplane just for me at all. I was going up for you. I was going up for the other lions. I was going up for my children. I was going up for loved ones. I was going up as an example of possibility in the world of what we can do in facing our fear. And so were the rest of those fine folks. Some of them may not have been present to it, but they were doing that. And that's who you are. You're not just here for you. You're an example of possibility to others. You're part of a community, an ecosystem of Unblinded. Your work, your integrous human influence, your self-mastery, your process mastery is representing things in the world now. It's representing things to your family, who may or may not be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this thing? Like, why do you even listen to these things, right? You're there to show them why. You're there for people that look at you, that are watching your behavior. You're there to inspire them, to be an example of what's possible to them. You're there to be an example of possibility to the people that you talk to in Unblinded, people that are in your group coaching in Unblinded, people that are in mastery with you in Unblinded, people in your 10 by 10 in Unblinded, people on the Real Raw, Aurora Open with you at Unblinded, people that you encounter everywhere in business in the world, to be an inspiration to them to confront and deal with their own fear, to love themselves enough to face their fear, to love other people enough to face their fear. And the truth of this entire dynamic is that in going up there, I'm like, if I don't do this, I won't be who I say I am, number one. And number two, I won't be the example of possibility that I need to be as a leader in Unblinded and as a leader in the Lions and the Tony Robbins world. And so my identity was at stake. And you're amazing. And you are a leader. And every day that's at stake. And I didn't want to go. And quite frankly, I didn't want to do a whole bunch of things I did over the weekend because there's so much occupying my time, energy, and space. But I knew that there were things at stake and things mattered to people I care about and love. And so, yes, your physiology matters enormously, but the only way you get yourself to use your physiology is upon you deciding that you're a leader, that you're a person of influence and a force for good. And when you have that as your outcome, then regardless of what's put in front of you, whether it's a shark, whether it's a cold call, whether it's a third or fourth follow-up or 10th or 15th or 20th follow-up, whether it's jumping out of an airplane, whether it's walking on fire, whether it's coming out of the locker room to play a football game, to get on stage and sing a song or play an instrument, fear will find you. Like fear will find you because our brain and nervous system is not wired for you to succeed. It's wired to protect you from discomfort. And on the other side of discomfort is everything that you desire for your life to stand for. It's your money, your time, your magic. And pre-final, I'm gonna kick to Fernando for comments, is Tony and team were generous enough to get us shirts. And it said, if you can't, on the back of my shirt, there's 3 different groups, said, if you can't, you must. And if you must, you can. If you can't, you must. And if you must, you can. And those aren't just words, they're a way of life. And that's who you are inside of you. And you have fear, and I have fear. We all have fear, and it's okay. Having courage isn't the absence of fear. It's having fear, feeling the fear, and doing it anyway. And I don't remember the attribution of that beautiful quote, but I've heard that before. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's having the fear and having the science and technology, which we're unpacking this week and began today, to get yourself to do it anyway. And the points are a massive physiological shift in your identity, making a decision that you're not just doing this for you. Because if it's just for you, if it's just for your money, you never will. If it's to be an example of possibility and a leader, and take it from me, because it's how I found my way in 1997 to do something every bit as scary as jumping on that plane to quit my job at a major law firm and start my own law firm on a credit card. It felt the same. It's not a story. Just like this isn't a story. I jumped out of an airplane on Saturday. I jumped out of an airplane in 1997 when I quit my job and started my firm. Just like you today have the beautiful privilege and opportunity to do something even more courageous than jumping out of an airplane. Because for many of us, it would actually be easier to jump out of that plane than to make 50 calls today that you're afraid to make. So who are you choosing to be today? When are you choosing to step into and unlock that next level of your greatest self? It's in there. You don't need transformation. It's all in there. It just needs to be freed in simple, fun, and magical, frictionless ways. Fernando, final.
I wonder what it's like to have like a cup of tea with Randy after a regular day at work. So that's like what's present for me. I went to give my mom a hug. She said, "Why are your hands so cold?" So I can't wait to share the story with her. And for everyone here, the hundreds of you, thank you for going skydiving with us, because I am petrified and I have gone through the whole experience in that story. And it's a beautiful thing. So yes to a lot of what you said, Sean. This is beautiful self-mastery content and conversation. And I'm grateful to start a week going skydiving with you. So back to you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Tomorrow, or later today or tomorrow, we're going to post the video of Randy on the Unblinded pages. So if you feel like hearing from him and what his life is a little bit about, feel free. He's an amazing dude. And we're going to have the video, I think, as Randy is filming us out of the plane and going down. And tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the micro distinctions of agreement formation and what transition snag people hit and how it all goes wrong from there in the transition from your heroic unique identity into agreement formation, and where default no emerges, fear rises, everything goes off askew. Have a beautiful Mastering Monday. Love you guys, and hope to see all of you this weekend in Long Beach Island that are part of the program. If you're not,